Here we go, 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 here we go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we have volatility in the markets. On CPI day, I decided to do a live stream today because markets can be super volatile in times like this, especially we're about to watch the markets open. Let's go ahead and see that happen right now. Looks like we just had the opening happen right there. The Dow Jones just opened here in this minute. We can see a big pop up here, up 660 points. When these things happen, we can see that prices can flip and flop a lot. I've been doing this for over 3 years now to know that when we have days like this, I could sit here and record and edit and upload, and then by the time it's live, it's no longer relevant. So we'll dive into what's happening right now and the things that I'm looking at. Hello to everybody in the chat. It's awesome to see you all in there. For the last couple of weeks, we've been really talking about arranging context. So when I do these live streams, I like to spend like the first 15 or 20 minutes really kind of just diving in and talking about stuff for people who watch on the replay, and then spend the rest of the video really kind of engaging with chat and talking. But if you're here, please hit the like button. Appreciate it very much. So for the last 14 days, we've been in this ranging context talking about it, that it would be boring. Nobody really likes to hear that. And obviously, I see viewership go down when I say that, but I just have to say it because it's what it seems like it's likely going to be. When we are just planning on going sideways, nobody wins. The people who are bearish don't win. The people who are bullish don't win. Nobody likes to hear it. But we are reaching the end of that ranging context. Yesterday, we were talking a lot about that with all the volatility that would be erupting. And sure enough, we've gotten the move. But the thing that we've been talking about for these last several weeks was talking about getting back up to this peak over here that was set over here on November 10th, which we have gotten there. So this is a great thing to see that Bitcoin has done this, and the same thing has actually happened over here for Ethereum. These were things that we were looking for. Now the big question is going to be, will this thing continue ranging even further? Or are we on kind of the brink of the breakout, and this was the extent of our correcting, and that now we're ready to start moving up? So the reason I've been pointing to this peak over here is like in a video that I posted, I believe 2 weeks ago. We're talking about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stuff. I know that every time I bring that up, I always think if I was just some random person going through YouTube and I watch some guy talking about that, like this guy's making up stuff, it's the same. I think of it as the same type of stuff who says, I'm going to use the 32 DMMA mixed with the 16 MA on the 4-hour time frame commingled with the 16-day time frame, and this is my magic formula. If you don't understand what I'm saying, there's a couple of people out there who do. But anyway, when I explain that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I always like to go back to that video that I did back in January of 2021 discussing the structure. And so the idea has been that we would actually get back up to the price level that we've hit this morning. And so we could see that we've gotten there on Ethereum. We could see that we've gotten there on Bitcoin. And this was context that we've talked about before. So like if we're looking at like the XRP price chart from what that video was actually based off of, when I posted that video back here in January of 2021, it was actually referencing here to the XRP price chart that we had completed this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back to wave 4. Put that back on there. Back to wave 4. For 6, and then we go on for 7, and then notice where we come back. This is typically where we will find resistance at, is right here at this level before continuous ranging will occur. We'll talk back about this, the complications of right now, and whether or not could we possibly be in breakout mode actually right now. That's not going to be an issue as we're seeing for Ethereum and we're seeing it for Bitcoin. Or is this actually in the cards of where we do have to now perform what we've talked about for weeks, which would be an ABC correction to come in here, where we actually pull off of here. Probably the last thing people want to hear on a day like today, because today's exciting. Prices are moving up quickly. So dang it, blockchain backer, why are you going to bring that up, man? But that is the case. This is also Bitcoin. This is from back in 2018. So this was the capitulation of Bitcoin. This is also another example of where we had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls back up to wave 4 for 6, and 7 goes on the extension. Notice that it breaks back up in here. Where does it head back into? Right back into there. What occurs for Bitcoin afterwards? You end up getting an A, B, C correction that is drawn out. Notice that's the same type of thing we had for XRP. What's the difference? This is XRP in 2020 and 2021. This is Bitcoin in 2018 and 2019. So these are not the exact same time periods in the market where this is actually happening. These are different time periods. And I've shown this many times before. That is the challenge that we're going to face being where we are right now. What's the really good news about this, though? The really good news is this is like another like really positive reinforcing thing to say the bottom is in. So we've spent a lot of time looking over here at the altcoin market, studying the Wyckoff accumulation structure. Obviously, the spring phase came in. I expected us to maybe get a little bit higher before spring would come in. We hit the 200-day moving average the day after, CZ Binance, FTX. We all know the story. Anyway, spring comes in. We slam into the bottom. We've been holding it, building the structure that we've been looking for. All things look good here on the altcoin market. Ethereum back to where we want it to be for these type of accumulation schematics. These all look good. And the same story goes for Bitcoin. The big concern right now is whether or not are we at the top of the range. So we've talked about this for weeks on end as well, talking about this since November. This was the area that we were looking to get to, but in multiple videos talking about, hey, this is where that ABC can emerge from right in here for further additional accumulation. As we see in several examples, sometimes these things can be really drawn out. So that's what the market definitely wouldn't want, right? If you just think it from a sentiment perspective. Right now, in the last hour, lots of excitement in the market from seeing prices move up quickly. And then excitement returns. But then we're talking about, hey, could things draw out and last a little while? So people probably don't want to hear that right now. But that's the case. But either way, if that is the case, that still signifies that the bottom would be in. Just could be dragged out. And within the last hour, lots of excitement, but go back 3 hours ago, if you were over there on Twitter at all, you pretty much see rumors out there of Binance insolvency and worries and scares and fears and all that stuff. So we're a highly emotional crowd right now and in fear. And I saw somebody really kind of post over there on Twitter too, is that a lot of people just didn't see what was coming with FTX, and that creates a ton of distrust throughout the whole ecosystem right now. So you have a lot of people who are just like looking for anything and everything because FTX caught them by surprise. They assume that everything has to fall. And I've been in markets for long enough too that it's not everybody. I promise you it's not everybody, but they become villains. Retail traders have a tendency to sometimes become villains, especially if they've gotten hurt by the market. They'll eventually become a villain and scream for down, just simply to be able to buy back in at lower. So when we get into moments like this, there's a lot of people screaming because they've also, they're trying to get better prices for themselves. But when we look at the market from this perspective, we've spent weeks talking about this. We've spent weeks talking about accumulation. And for a range in context, the range in context has broken back to this level, which we've also talked about for weeks, for almost a month at this point. We have now officially hit it. These are the levels that we typically look for in accumulation schematics to happen. The big question will now be, do we have prolonged accumulation to still continue in this range for both Ethereum and both for Bitcoin? The things that typically happen, though, in these situations is we typically see a big, quick pop out come out of these. If you notice that on Bitcoin, you notice that on XRP as well. But what we have had happen here is we've had quite a bit of ranging already taking place. So could you create the argument that we've actually already kind of ABC'd in here for Ethereum? Not so much Bitcoin, not really. So it's still going to leave a question mark here on, is this going to continue further? So that's going to be kind of our discussions moving forward, is that will we get through here at this exact moment in time today, after the CPI print, after Bitcoin and Ethereum and the cryptocurrency market pop way up, after the Dow Jones pops up, coming back to the 702 retracement again. Will there be a continuation beyond that, or is there a resistance level? And we do know there's a resistance level here right now. So just trying to be kind of cautious of that existing. And it would be one thing to just kind of point to it, but these were kind of the things going through my mind for the last several weeks as we talked about being in a range for a while. And we've also talked about this many times. And I get it. Not everybody's watched all the videos the last couple of weeks with the market being so boring. Viewership hasn't been as high. I think people just kind of get worn out. We've all got FTX fatigue, I'm sure. But this is the level, the upper bound of the range. So on CPI print, on really good optimistic news of inflation cooling off, we finally hit the top of the range. Now tomorrow comes the Fed, right? The Fed rate hike. So we'll get into that detail too. The thing to look here on the economic calendar is that we had our core CPI month over month and year over year, and our standard CPI month over month and year over year. The expectations here for CPI were 0.3% inflation. We only had 0.1%, so we beat. That also reduces the annual inflation. Same goes for core. Expectations of 0.3 and coming in at 0.2. So when you look at these things month over month, kind of get a graphical representation to see, hey, like when we're going through those extremely high inflationary periods that we had, you could see how big these monthlies were: 1.3% in a month, 1% in a month, 1.2%, 0.8%. Now look at August, September, October, November, and December. We're seeing 0.1%, 0.4, 0.4, 0.10. So these numbers are all replacing these previous numbers from back in here, which is reducing our year over year inflation. So that's why we're starting to see the year over year figures start to cool off. So there has been a trend change that has definitely emerged here on the year over year at this point. So inflation does seem to be cooling off. Then it's going to come the big question moving forward. Is it going to be the soft landing, or is it going to be the hard landing, right? Is it going to just be inflation cooling, or is it going to turn into a deflationary situation here? But that's neither here or there. Right now, looking at markets, we see that the Dow Jones still bouncing here in the retracement levels. That's where we're at. Tomorrow, we're going to get Fed meeting happening in here to find out if this can get any more juice out of it, or if this is stuck in here. One of the interesting things about the Fed meeting coming up tomorrow is going to be this stuff we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Not everybody's favorite topic, I get it, but we'll talk about the interest rate hike that is set to happen tomorrow. So if you've been following the videos at all for the last 2 weeks, we've been discussing this. Right now, the current federal funds rate sits between 3.75 and 4% for every one of these 75 basis point rate hikes that the Fed has done. It's been able to play catch up to the 2-year and the 10-year Treasury yields. For the first time now, we're about to head into the next meeting tomorrow, where they're going to be doing an interest rate hike. For the first time, the current 10-year yield is below what the federal funds rate is. That has not happened in the entire hiking cycle. And the level that they're planning on, or that the market anticipates that they'll go to, is a 0.5 interest rate hike, which would raise the federal funds rate to 4.25% to 4.5%. Now the 2-year down today, big time, is actually sitting below that. So if they actually go through with a 50 basis point rate hike tomorrow, they will be not only distancing themselves further away from the 10-year yield, they'll actually be exceeding the 2-year yield. So it's going to be an extremely interesting day tomorrow to see how those things actually end up playing out. Otherwise, I think the big thing we're all watching right now, or the thing that I'm watching right now, we went into ranging context. It was an expectation that we would leave that ranging context. Now we've hit the new range boundary. And now the question is, does it go into long-term accumulation? As we've talked about for weeks, that this is the typical structure that does emerge after you finally go back to the top of that range boundary. But the optimistic thing about it, in each of these circumstances, these mark bottoms. These are how bottoms are made. Thing is, will it have to work its way out for a little bit? If it does, that's fine. That's what we would want. That's what you would want to see in a long-term trend change. Just means we could be there for a minute. So, great to see us get there. It was curious here, sitting here, being like, okay, we have a highly volatile time period coming up very soon. But how's this going to play out? Boom, top of the range boundary. Now the question is, how long does it have to work out? And then the additional question emerges from, well, typically when we move our way back up here, these things actually happen pretty quick to get back there. Have we already done enough? So in these things, we usually work our ways back up pretty quick. Have we already done enough ranging in here? Has our ABC emerged and it's just going to take its way out? An example of this would actually be, we talked a lot about the inverse price chart of Bitcoin. And let me see. I'll do it like this, right? Invert the scale. In this example, right? So these were things that we talked about when we were watching Bitcoin. We were expecting a new all-time high last year, but that we would not get much of an all-time high, right? We were watching it from the inverse perspective because you had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What did we do? We rolled back up to wave 4, 4, 6, and then we went to 7. Notice in the circumstance of our rollback up in here, where did we get to? Not quite to the top. It ABC'd from a lower point, but after coming out of here, that's where it started to flag and then work its way back up. So has that actually already happened by us consolidating in there for a long enough time period? I do think that is possible. However, with us being back at that range boundary, there's no option out there for me except to exercise extreme caution that a longer ABC could emerge out of here. And so that's just going to be kind of the messaging I have now as we move forward for the next couple of weeks, unless if we can get a convincing move above where we are. And we know tomorrow this story could change, right? So tomorrow the Fed comes out, they do something stupid, it does that, and then we kind of already know our story that's what's coming in. So we have a lot to happen tomorrow, and then today we'll see how the market continues to play out today. But the most interesting thing is being right there, and for those who've been watching, we've been talking about it for quite some time. So that's where we're at, guys. We're at a resistance boundary. We'll go back and look at legacy markets one more time. This is the big thing for tomorrow with the Fed rate hike. 10-year is below current Fed funds rate. If they raise, they'll be exceeding 2-year. And historically, if they exceed 2-year, that has been the end of the hiking cycle. And looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average back in retracements. And so this is another thing I'm just going to touch topics on real quick. The last year has been really tough because I've had just a ridiculous amount of Twitter Fed experts. And I'm talking retail investors who have just been the smartest people in the world because of the Fed. And notice the Fed has not changed, right? We've done 75 basis point rate hikes the entire time. That has not stopped. And we still don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. The November rate hike was 75 basis points. As you can see, the Dow Jones has gotten all the way back up into these top ones. If we look at CME, CBOT futures, we've gotten all the way up to the 786. So this is stuff that happens in aftermarket trading as well. But this has happened on a non-Fed pivot. So for the Fed experts out there, this is why I have to stick with charts. This stuff happens. Retracements happen, regardless of whatever narrative we want to look at and believe in. And this right here, this big, massive turnover in the DXY, which has set another new low today, all of this has happened without a Fed pivot. And for those who've watched the channel, what were we doing? We were doing stuff like this, right? We're like, hey, look at all these times we're hitting all of these retracement levels and sticking here and sticking there. If this is truly going to be it, we've reached the last one. This happens not based off of a Fed pivot, but it just based off charts. So I get it. We want to look at all the different things, but this is what this channel is, right? This channel is charts. If we're all going to become, there's such a chess game that is played out there with narratives. It's just impossible to be able to follow the narratives, in my opinion. So, all right. There we go. A big, massive move down in the US dollar currency index. A pretty decent sized move over here in the Dow Jones as we still play around in the retracement levels. And then the big thing is that Ethereum and Bitcoin both reached the top of this range. Now the big question emerges, do we go into longer consolidation If so, this is where I will be scooping up a tremendous amount of crypto. I have been buying these dips down in here that we've been having in here for the cryptocurrency market. I've not been buying Bitcoin. You know, to each their own on that. I've been in this market long enough to know that that can be a really bad mistake. I learned that lesson in 2017 that I definitely should have owned more Bitcoin than I did in 2017. And I made that adjustment in the 2019-2020 bull run, that in the 2018 bear market in 2019, I actually was accumulating Bitcoin and keeping that as a bigger position in my portfolio under the potential that Bitcoin would go off and not take the altcoin market with it. But the conditions for that were that I had a very clear read on Bitcoin. I had a clear read that we were doing a accumulation schematic that would go to a 4.236 extension. And so I kind of had an idea on where I thought Bitcoin was going. I was feeling pretty confident with it. So I added Bitcoin to my portfolio. With what has happened here for Bitcoin in this entire move down in here, this is unlike any of the past bear markets. This is not an ABC correction as we've seen in 2014 and in 2018. What is happening here for Bitcoin is very different. So, to each their own on what they think is going to happen with Bitcoin. I see a far more likelihood of that being the case for Bitcoin. And so for that, I'm not accumulating Bitcoin. In this circumstance, I did think this is where we're going. You can check all of my YouTube videos from 2019, 2020, and 2021 to say that that's where I thought we were headed. But here, I don't see that clear of a picture for Bitcoin to think that we're actually going to set a new all-time high. So I'm not personally adding Bitcoin to my stack. But there's other coins that I am optimistic on. So I'm adding those to my portfolio. So, by the way, this right here will piss off a lot of people. This will earn me a tremendous amount of thumbs down. So please help me offset those with some thumbs up. But yeah, so I have been accumulating this dip. I've not been accumulating Bitcoin. And should we continue to consolidate further, and if we do see this type of structure emerging here in the market, I definitely will be adding even more. But then again, same story that I've always had, right? We go into a retracement. I've got to unload. I've got to do some unloading in a retracement, just the way it's going to go. Because this guy, right? The Dow. We'll see. All right, how long have I just been rambling for? I've been rambling for 22 minutes. Good for me. All right. Let's go back up. I missed these super chats really fast. But yeah, that's let me just say that before this, because now I'm going to hang out with the chat for a little while. This is where we're at, right? And I get it. If you haven't been watching at all much lately, this has been the idea of where we would head to. Now we're here. We've been in a ranging context for 14 days. We break from the ranging context, which is great, but that also means you enter another new ranging context. So it's like one day of celebration to go back into a new one. So that's kind of where my thoughts are right now. That would change with a solid break above these levels that were set back here on November 10th. So for me to start getting excited again, this is the level to get to. We got to where we need to be. This is the first thing that we needed to see examples of what we would want to see forming on a bottom after a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is where you want to head to. Oh no, I just lost my XRP chart. This is where you want to head to. This is where we just got to right now over here for Ethereum. This is where we just got to for Bitcoin. But, understanding the reality of these are the types of things that can come next. So this is kind of the level we have to break from. What you see here on Ethereum, what you see here on Bitcoin, that's the stick. It took us almost a month to finally get our way back there. It's what we've talked about for a month. We've gotten it. Woohoo. Congrats. Now it's the big fight. So now we've done all the things that we need to do to be like, all right, come on. boom, gone. So this is now the phase that we're going to be working on to get to that breakout phase. So all the phases that we've been talking about for ranging, and we're still in a big range boundary. It was important that we got to the top of the range boundary. We've hit it. Now it's time to start working up the juice for the real breakout. So now, if you notice, like in my videos, like not making like videos with like titles and thumbnails of being like breakout imminent, like here we go, it's getting ready to happen, like here's where we're headed to. I haven't been making any of those types of thumbnails or any of those types of titles or thumbnails over the last month or two because of the range context that we've been in, that the thing to get to would be here and that this would kind of be our pause. But next, after some consolidation in here, unless we just get the breakout, then it's like, let's go. Here we go. Moon boy thumbnails and titles all the time. But now it's going to be like, all right, here we go. Breakout imminent. Big move imminent. When are we going to get it? And that's what we're going to be waiting for next. So this was the final phase of the ranging context of like having to hit range boundaries to say, all right, now it's time for the big one. But it probably has to consolidate first before it does it. But this was a key element of it that we've been talking about. So celebration to get that. So cool. All right, there we go. 26 minutes of rambling. Let's go back. TJ says, your stop loss were triggered, so you're going to get back in for Bitcoin. No, I think I just answered that one. Nope. Not for Bitcoin. Doesn't mean Bitcoin won't go to 40 to 50 to 55K. I think it could, but I'm just not going to chase those types of numbers. It would be super interesting. Schwab Inu, thank you for the super chat. It would be super interesting if you could analyze the velocity of the M2 money stock chart at the St. Louis Fed. Okay. I'll take a peek at that. I don't know if there's anything to extrapolate from it that will give any type of alpha to know what's going to happen next. It seems like charts just are the best thing, man. We can all become the best Fed analyzers in the world. It just doesn't seem to work being a Fed analyzer. Yeah. But thank you so much. Thinking Crypto, what's up, brother? Ryan Hanna, thank you so much. My Bill W. friend, Ryan. We're both buddies with Bill. Glad you took off your glasses, even if it was just for one weekend. Thank you. Thank you. And I do get what you're saying, Ryan. Bill and me go way back. Niall Fernandez, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for all your efforts you put in BC Backer. God bless. Thank you so much. And then just right under that I see Rye Guy. Lots of fake Bitcoin going around. That's a concern, man. We'll talk about that for a second. And that obviously isn't something we see on the charts, but that was one of the things about SBF that was kind of like, ugh, that's a disgusting thing to hear about this market. And I don't have any sponsors on the channel, and I've only ever had 2 sponsors ever. It's been linked to in Unstoppable Domains, but I've been approached by a lot of different people to do sponsorships, and one of the rules I've always had is not to do exchanges, crypto exchanges and crypto projects. FTX, I am telling you, man, like it got very close to working with FTX. The legitimacy that they portrayed had me fooled for sure. Obviously, I never promoted them. Never affiliate linked for FTX, but never mentioned them. Nothing, right? It never ended up happening. But boy, they were convincing. That was crazy. But the thing he says, right? Lots of fake Bitcoin going around. If you can have somebody who is perceived as so legitimate as FTX trading paper Bitcoin, how much of that actually exists in this market, right? Which it would just have to mean that prices don't truly reflect what the demand is, right? It means that, the prices that we see out there are getting stomped down by a bunch of fake supply, being sold. And we as an industry have to figure out a way to make it so that there's like with silver, right? There's a spot price and then there's like a physical price. You go and you buy physical metals, the prices are different, totally different than what the prices are for spot. And so I think we need a market that truly is legitimate. It feels like that's probably the direction we're going to end up going, because it requires so much trust on these exchanges that they actually have these cryptos, but we don't know if they really do. And that's a real big problem. And you always kind of think, that stuff could be going on with some shady exchanges, but you didn't think that with FTX, and it was. They had no Bitcoin, or at least that from my understanding. But SBF himself admitted in his spaces that they were trading paper Bitcoin. When they would deposit their money, not buying, the exchange was not buying all the Bitcoin, and what they were trading was not even really there. It was just numbers on a screen. Crazy, right? Ugh. Shravan, your thoughts on Litecoin and Ethereum Classic? Just like anything, moving with the rest of the market. If the rest of the market's I don't think they have anything super special that's going to do anything for them, right? So an argument for me with Litecoin and for Ethereum Classic, which Ethereum Classic obviously went on a giant pump. Out of the list of the ones that I bought, that was the best one. That was the best one that performed out of all of them in my rotation trades. And it went up 20x. That was the last one I thought. I didn't think that one. I would have thought Litecoin would have outperformed Ethereum Classic. But, big argument for Litecoin and Ethereum Classic is that they're both available over there on PayPal. They're both available over there on Robinhood, available on literally every single exchange. But are they doing anything revolutionary that's going to make them break away from the pack? I don't know. So outside of saying they're just going to move with the rest of the market, I think that's really the best thing I can personally expect from Litecoin and from Ethereum Classic. And the only things I could think of that would work tremendously in Litecoin and Ethereum Classic's favor, and I'm not a regulation expert. I'm not a SEC expert, nor do I know how the cards are going to play out and what hands are going to get played here. But I would assume that Litecoin and Ethereum Classic would probably be pretty safe from a regulatory standpoint if there was a big crackdown on regulations. Just the two of those in particular. And I think that's why we see that places like Coinbase was one of the first ones. Litecoin, back in 2017, you had three options. You had Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. And I think there was a reason why Litecoin's on there. Same goes for PayPal. Same goes for Robinhood being one of the initial ones. Both of those two, I think, probably from a regulation. And why were those two? What were the other two that were there on or the other three over there on PayPal? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then Bitcoin Cash. And so Bitcoin Cash as well, I would assume, being safe from regulatory smackdowns, because it's just a hard fork of Bitcoin, and everybody who owned Bitcoin got airdropped Bitcoin Cash. So if there's some type of big regulatory thing that ends up happening, maybe those assets have a little bit of an advantage. That's been my thought process. But here we are this late into the game. We still have not gotten any type of regulation. So hard to know on a timing thing on something like that. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Litecoin and Ethereum Classic. Tay Brown, what's your analysis on Doge? Are you accumulating? I'll talk about Doge. All right, so people hated me in the bull run. I actually called for Doge to crash down this further. I actually called for Doge to crash down even further than it did. It was one of my most disliked videos from back here, saying that we would end up seeing Doge all the way back down here. That 4 cents, 3 to 4 cents was my number. We actually didn't quite get that low. I actually got to 4.95 cents because this thing this was Dogecoin in 2020 and 2021 was XRP 2017 and 2018. If you guys haven't recognized that, this is XRP 2017, 2018. It was Doge's turn to do that exact same move. And so what we saw with XRP is it actually pulled all the way back down here. So we haven't actually gone that deep for Doge. So, there's always still the concern on that. But the thing with Doge is my thoughts would be similar to like with XRP, is that it got overdone. I don't think we are ever going to see a situation for Doge. Again, cue all the thumbs down. I don't think you're ever going to see a hype cycle that big for Doge ever again. If you go back and you relive what that was actually like, being in crypto, never seen a hype cycle of the general public and the masses around Doge. There was so much easy access to Doge that wasn't like there in 2017. Like with CNBC was teaching people how do you buy XRP in 2018, right? You buy Bitcoin here, you send it to this exchange over here, then you transfer your Bitcoin into this, and then you buy XRP. No, that's not how it was for Doge. People could access it through their Robinhood accounts. They could access it through their all the different things that they had available, but primarily Robinhood, right? It's where the degens like to hang out at. But I had everybody texting me, people who just did not participate. And the biggest one was my sister. Like the fact that my sister was texting me and saying, hey, my brother-in-law, her husband, he put $1,000 into Doge. He knows Elon Musk is going to be on Saturday Night Live, and he's just going to make a quick play. Then I got another text from another buddy who said he's doing the exact same thing. You had the entire world of people who were going to get into Doge, going into it. You had everybody and their mom and people who just had no idea what crypto was buying Dogecoin. I don't think you'll see that ever again. So my thoughts are, if Doge does get another hype cycle, it is just a retrace. That's it. And that's how I'm treating Doge. But also understanding that, there's still the potential this level down here is still available. So from accumulation schematic, we've talked about this quite a bit. This level held. That is what happens if you're going to pull off some type of Bitcoin. What do you have something like this going on, right? Is there some huge adoption cycle that comes for Doge with Elon owning Twitter? Maybe that makes all this irrelevant. Maybe the things I'm saying about Saturday Night Live are wrong. Maybe there's going to actually become a real use case for Doge versus a lot of other things. And people hate me for saying this too. Like, what is the real use case for Bitcoin? To just hold it, right? Buy it and hold it, right? That's it. But is there going to be something actually implemented for Doge? You see the world's like a second richest man in the world who owns Twitter now. He's a advocate for cryptocurrencies and he's an advocate for Dogecoin. There's a non-zero chance of Dogecoin being implemented as some type of use case at some point, right? That's the reality. Will it? We can all speculate and say, no, it's stupid. It's a dog. It's a meme. But there's a non-zero chance that it actually is something, right? So food for thought. Crypto Ryan, silver. Yeah, silver, man. How's silver doing today? I think it's above $24, right? Yeah, it sure is. There we go. A little bit of channel breakout this morning happening here for silver. But thank you guys for the super chats. I don't think I thanked you. I was just reading your stuff. Thank you guys so much. Joker's Performance, thank you so much for the super set. Check your Twitter PMs. I have a time zone poll I would like your opinion on. All right. Joker's Performance. Luis Ortiz with the super chat. Thank you, Luis. Oscar Hernandez, a member for 9 months. We the people sponsor you, BCB. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your support. And I don't think I say that enough. Like, it is your support that keeps me going, that gives me the ability to spend all day, every day doing this. And I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. You guys, there's no way to put it into words. And there's no ways to not sound cheesy, cliche, blah, blah, blah. It is the dang truth. Thank you. I'm eternally grateful and the luckiest person in this space. Or other people say they're lucky or whatever. I get to live a dream. I get to do what I enjoy doing. Yes, there are the bad days. There are the days I don't want to be here. There's days where I don't want to read my comments because there's a bunch of jerks in my comments, and I don't feel like dealing with that for the day. But I think everybody has a bad day all the time. There are people who hate their jobs, who go to work every day, and they're miserable when they put their clothes on and they hop into traffic and they drive into work. Every day I get to walk into my office and do something I'm addicted to doing, looking at these charts and getting to use my voice and talk about it. And without people watching me, this is not what I would be doing. I would have to be driving into an office, but instead I get to do what I like to do. Thank you. Thank you. Jesus Cruz, blockchain backer, do you own any H-bar? So I actually bought my first H-bar in this past dip that we've actually had. A problem I've had with H-bar has been the supply dynamics of it. That's why I haven't been interested in buying it. So I know that the supply had just been spiraling out of control for all year long. So it's like hard to buy something when like the supply is increasing by 50 to 100 to 150% in a year. That's crazy. I know there's so many H-bar fans, but with supply increasing so drastically, it was something that I just wasn't willing to touch. But to me, this market feels excessive. Does it mean it's the bottom? No, but just from going through all of 2017, seeing the percentage drawdown that H-bar has already had at this point, 92%. You know, if it goes to 95%, if it goes to 96%, okay, whatever. We're down far, right? So, one thing I learned in accumulating assets in 2018, 19, and 20, because dynamics did change in the cryptocurrency market during the 2020 and 2021 bull run, is that in 2017, you literally could buy anything on the board and everything went into new all-time highs. Literally everything went into new all-time highs. We've done enough analysis already on the 2021 bull run. If you bought the top 20, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, only 6 of the top 20 went into like breakout into new all-time highs. If you exclude Bitcoin and you exclude Ethereum, 4 out of the top 18 did. Right? How much of that was influenced by people like SBF and Three Arrows Capital? Who knows, right? No clue. That's a weird dynamic, and I'm having a hard time coming to terms with how much manipulation was coming from SBF potentially. So, whether or not this thing breaks out into new all-time highs or not, I still have concerns about the supply dynamic situation here of how much supply gets added every year. Hopefully that's getting corrected. But with how deep we are, being in the 2018 bull run, it's worth taking a stab at. But we'll see. I don't really know where I'm going. You asked about that. Oh yeah, the thing I learned, right? What did I learn in 2018? It didn't matter if you threw a dart at the board. One of the things that really kind of mattered was a lot having to do with community for a lot of these different things. How many people are involved in it? How many devs are involved in it? How many people are actively working on it? There's a big H-bar community, right? So that's important. Excitement spreads the word, a community. And I especially learned this a lot from the NFT world because I was doing a lot of looking around on NFTs and getting an understanding of what was coming out on the XRP ledger, is how important community excitement was about these NFTs. I was going in and hanging out in all their discords and figuring out what's going on with these guys. And it's no surprise to me, the ones that had the most active discords, theirs sold out a lot better. Or at least their sales are going better than a lot of other ones are. So, is there a community around HBAR? For sure. So that's a check mark on my list. Yeah. But what's another thing? Like Ethereum Classic has no community, but it pumped, right? So that was one of the 4 of the 18. So, yeah. Oscar Hernandez, super chat with the burger. Thank you so much, super sticker. Christy Bays, with everything going on in the markets over the past few years, do you still believe that XRP has a chance to hit that 10 to 13 price range? Sure. Yep.
it's the measurements, right? So it's the measurement target, and it's not outrageous, right? So it still keeps in line with where Ethereum has gotten. It really, I guess, it's just a waiting game. It's been a heartbreaker, right? It's been a rough ride waiting on XRP. Question is this a crash, retrace, reaccumulation schematic that is happening in here that eventually goes on to a 4.236? The thing that, has been rough about the XRP community, and I try to keep my mouth shut about it on Twitter, and I try not to talk too much trash about it, but there is so much spreading of absolute. And people have bought into this. People have committed their lives to thinking this stuff is real, that there's going to be like a $35,000 per XRP buyout when you can run to the exchange and buy it for 39 cents right now, that they're going to get a 100x return because the government and the Fed is going to buy their XRPs off them for $35,000, or that, they're going to hold it till $1,000 or something. But these numbers are so outrageous when you do the mathematics on them. They don't fit into reality. They're just not real. They're fairy tale. What a number that is realistic. You watch how high Bitcoin goes. You watch how high Ethereum goes. You watch what would happen to the market cap of XRP in this scenario. XRP, even to this point, regardless of what Ripple does, tends to move within the ecosystem of the crypto market. The price typically is performing with how the rest of the cryptocurrency market is doing. If XRP takes off, we have never seen XRP sustain a higher level than the Ethereum market cap. So if you set your limits of saying that XRP's market cap can hit Ethereum, this is a reasonable area for that to happen. So you have two kind of confluence things occurring where the market cap of XRP maybe flips Ethereum momentarily up in this area. Right here is where it would happen. In addition, you have the Fibonacci extensions in there. So those are my targets, but you get into new all-time highs, you kind of start dancing with danger at that point. But yeah, that's the measurement belief. That's what we saw for Bitcoin. That's what we saw for Ethereum. So for sure. Lost my place, but thank you so much for the super chat. I guess I'm also beaten down by the nonsense of $35,000 to $50,000 XRP. I hope there's not a lot of people who really believe in that. It's clickbait. Okay, here's a good question. Pitbull. Brother, if Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 makes new all-time high for 2023 and 2024, do you also see new all-time high for Bitcoin? Kind regards and stay healthy, my friend. I think that's a good question. Let's go to that one. So, all right, Dow back below the 702 retracement right now. So we could talk about that. The things that we've noticed, I've written about this in my newsletter, I've made YouTube videos about this, is that Bitcoin's inception, we'll take everything off the screen. Bitcoin's inception occurred right in here. So Bitcoin has only existed during that whole time period. That's it for Bitcoin. It has literally been only in an actual mega bull run that has lasted for over a decade for the broader markets. One thing we've noticed for Bitcoin is that when it broke out into the 2013 bull run, 2016-17 bull run, and into the 2020-2021 bull run, they all were incredibly correlated with the Dow Jones taking out new all-time highs and breaking out into new highs. People want to say it has to do with the Bitcoin block reward halving. I've done the math on this. I've shown how much time elapsed between these time periods in here. We can let's do this. Let's do compare Bitcoin, new price scale. Is it going to give me back? It's not going to let me go back far enough, is it? Okay. So what you have to see happening down here, I don't know if you can see it on the bottom. There we go. All right. This is the moment where we break out above the great financial crisis, right? So this is the peak prior to great financial crisis here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Bitcoin is incepted right in here. Here is where we break out of the great financial crisis. Notice less than 3 weeks later, it really happens here in these weeks leading up to it, but the momentum picks up speed. Look down here on Bitcoin. We see the momentum of the speed of this taking off right here for Bitcoin. And look on the left side of the screen down over here. We're at like $12 per XRP or per Bitcoin over here. So $12. And then boom, we break out from the financial crisis here in the Dow Jones, and Bitcoin fires up and it goes all the way up to $165. So Bitcoin 10x's right as the Dow Jones is breaking out of the great financial crisis high, right? So then we come over here and we see that it gets its secondary pump of extreme YOLO-ness here in 2013. And then as the Dow goes into a ranging context, starting right here, right here where this ends, notice this is all ranging context. It stays in this exact same range here for the Dow Jones here from 2013 all the way until 2016. Then Bitcoin goes into a bear market during the whole ranging context here for the Dow Jones. Then as the Dow Jones gets a clear breakout, so does Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes and breaks out from its all-time high in here. And we have the 2017 bull run also occurring in line with the Dow Jones. Notice the structure of parabolic growth happening here in the Dow Jones. Parabolic growth happening here in Bitcoin. Of course, within weeks of each other coming to a stop and a halt. But notice we also set this little new high right here. It didn't quite do it. It was when a confirmed breakout actually ended up happening that Bitcoin broke out into its new all-time high. Then we head over here. This is the interesting one right in here because Bitcoin didn't fall for the trap. Is that, we've talked about the double tap, bull flag, breakout, backtest, V bottom happening over here for the Dow Jones, and that you typically have that little short squeeze that happens in there, right? So we have the bull flags happening in here. We have the breakout. Then we have the short squeeze, and then we have the violent backtest back into the bull flags. But notice that the Dow broke out into a new all-time high. However, Bitcoin didn't fall for that trap down in there. It's as if Bitcoin knew this was not the one. This was not going to be the one that was going to be the actual breakout. This is a short squeeze prior to a violent backtest incoming. Bitcoin didn't fall for it. And what's funny about that with Bitcoin, of course, is that the structure of Bitcoin mimicked that of what was still going on in 2013. It's as if we knew this was going to be the case because what happened with Bitcoin back in here was the same thing, right? We had our crash, our retrace, and then it came back down to double tap the lows for a reaccumulation precisely as we had here in 2018, 19, and 20. So Bitcoin didn't fall for it, but it did the exact same thing that it did back in 2013. Again, reiterating the thoughts of why I'm like, dang it. Dang it. Reiterating the thoughts of why I'm like, I'm not accumulating Bitcoin because it's not a structure that is favorable to big bull run right now. But I'll take a stab at the altcoins. Right. But Bitcoin didn't fall for that trap, right? Here it is. It's breaking out into these new all-time highs, but it didn't fall for the trap. So your question is, brother, if Dow Jones and S&P 500 makes a new all-time high in 2023 or 2024, do you see a new all-time high for Bitcoin? Kind regards and stay healthy, my friend. So notice that Bitcoin's not going for what the Dow's doing here. But we've seen it before where it knew not to fall for the trap. But when it did go and when it did take out that C19 high that happened back in here, what happened for Bitcoin? Bitcoin knew this time we were for real. This time, it truly is a breakout. We know it. It's not a short squeeze trap. This is the true breakout. Bitcoin knows it. Bitcoin breaks out into its new all-time high with the Dow. just as we saw it happen back here in this ranging context, just like we saw it happen back when we took out the great financial crisis high. So we do know, too, that Bitcoin can know if it's a fake out. So if the Dow goes and sets a new all-time high, what are the cautionary tales, right? Cautionary things are that we have a parabola, and if it sets a new all-time high, is it truly a breakout? Is it truly going to do much more? Or is this really just the final little excess where things fall apart? So that's something that, you go back 2 months ago, people are screaming, we can't retrace the Fed. Here we are, we're fully retraced. So now this is the typical place where FOMO is hitting really hard. People don't know what to do. If they were buyers during Wall Street bets, if they were buyers during diamond hands and laser eyes, and then they were sellers because the world was falling apart, now they find themselves in a predicament right in here where they don't know what to do. And this is where breakouts happen from, and this is where rejections happen from most usually. And so there's no good answer. What a true trader does is a true trader tries not to get caught up in the emotion of what is happening during negative price action. So if you're buying tops and you're selling bottoms and you're feeling the YOLO FOMO coming back here at retracements, that's not what traders do. Traders will buy dips, wait for retracements, and then they'll risk manage into the retracement and reduce their position sizing in here. So this is where traders will take profits and do lots of escaping happening in here. This is where we're going to see lots of shorting. You're going to see lots of longs. You're going to see lots of retail buying heavily right in here. But this is the most dangerous place. And so I've shown this on a million different charts. Will it break out? We'll all find out together. But historically, it doesn't matter what I think. If anybody has done their own research and looked at a chart at any point in time or listened to a word that I'm saying, what happened? We fell. We've retraced. If this truly is a bear market in retrace levels, that is your most common place to turn over and continue going. So this is the deciding point, typically, on whether or not there's a breakout or a breakdown. The biggest problem with a breakout happening in here, is it really truly a breakout, or is it the final excess? And is the final excess merely a reach out to extensions and then game over? The interesting thing, too, to take away from all of that is that the NASDAQ hasn't caught up yet, right? NASDAQ is still way below. But at the same time, with the NASDAQ, go on a bigger time frame in here, and we know that the NASDAQ hasn't quite reached that level either. It got very close, but not quite. So people who sold the bottom are really in a tough predicament in here. It's one I wouldn't want to be in. So they got out and they sold the bottom of the market. They're back here at these retracements and they don't know what to do. And we talked about this in the depths of this stuff, how they were going to get themselves into this pickle. Is that you get back in here, and now what do? You either have to buy, anticipating that it will break through the retracement levels, and that it will be able to break out into new all-time highs. And then you have to also anticipate that it's not going to get rejected at the 4.236 extension. So there's so much danger all the way up. It would worry me to be in that circumstance. But heading back to the Dow, your question was, brother, if the Dow and the S&P 500 make new all-time high in 2023 and 2024, do you also see new all-time high for Bitcoin? Like I just showed, Bitcoin will tell us the story. Will Bitcoin, in this example right in here, Bitcoin didn't even get close. Bitcoin was still sitting at 10K. It was still sitting 50% below. Then it started rampaging up, before the Dow even broke out into that all-time high over here. Bitcoin was already beginning its rampaging. It was already bucking up against the all-time high by the time the Dow broke out. So Bitcoin would be telling us a story, but we can also see that, like, hey, if this thing is actually just going for a 4.236 extension, and Bitcoin's playing around, like for example, if the Dow has gotten up in here, it's gotten to like this 4.236 extension and it's way up here, but then Bitcoin's really just kind of like back right here doing this right in here. That's not a good sign, because what we should have saw is we should have saw Bitcoin have enough juice to get its way out, as it historically has in each one of these moments. So I hope that kind of answers your question. There's a lot of danger up ahead for the Dow. If it gets through these retracement levels, it faces danger at the all-time high, then it faces danger at the 4.236 extension. But yeah, there you go. My personal thoughts is just based on what we have done here with Bitcoin. This is not your 2018 correction. This is not your 2014 correction. You know what this looks like? I hate it. Looks like 2018 EOS. You see that? It looks like 2018 EOS. So where does that get you to if you had something like that? Oh, it brings you back to a 702 retracement. But that's it. This, we just got to recognize this is not like your ABC bullish correction that you had back in here. This is not what you had in 2014. This looks like this puppy. So we'll see. Now, as I have just earned myself a bunch of thumbs down, please give me a thumbs up. All right, Pitbull, thank you. Faiz Ahmed, is ADA one of your top coins to accumulate or other? So I have stopped accumulating ADA, but I mean, I have a lot of it. But thank you for the super chat. Joel Ferguson, I listen every day and I'll continue to. All the love from my family to yours, BCB. Well, thank you, Joel. Tony Tones, welcome to Backer. Courtney Smith, hey, what's going on? Thank you, Courtney, for the super chat. Code 9, thank you very much. Waiting for this thing to catch up here. Crypto Brian, Tilray stock on your watch list, I've noticed. Yeah, that's a meme stock, right? Thank you for the super chat. Let's see, Matt Conrad. All right, here we go. We got like a fib question. BCB, can you look at the similarities in dropping below the 786 in bear markets and waddling out from there? Happened last bear market and is happening now. Any thoughts? I'm assuming you're talking about Bitcoin. I'm guessing. Wasn't clear, but my guess is that you're saying that, correct? So we could do this, or we can even go back to the end of this one right here and say, hey, yeah, you dip below it. So yes, you can argue if you just go like, it means we're just saying forget about fibs. They don't matter because we can break through them all, which in these circumstances, it does appear to be that way, right? We'll even go back. We'll look at this one too, right? This one dipped below it as well. Fair argument. Problem is looking at everything else. when you look at all the other things in conjunction with it, is we say this correction is not like this correction. It's not like this one. And then, the thing that people don't want to look at is the bigger monthly time frame stuff. We've lost a lot on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, when it comes to each of its past bottoms, if we kind of use that ideology and say, well, it didn't matter, but that still doesn't give us a rule to follow. Because if we say, well, if we go look at everything else that happened in these two, I've kind of pointed it out that what has happened here for Bitcoin is different than each of these past times. When we look at like the 50 and the 100 week moving average crosses, each time those had happened, we had already bottomed. We were deep into recovery, already starting to emerge in here. That's not happening. Bitcoin is still continuing to dip lower. We look back to what happens with oversold relative strength index on the weekly time frame. At the bottom of each of these, we dipped into oversold, bounced out, we were done, capitulation was over, then the moving averages crossed, right? Happened in both circumstances. Same thing happens here. We hit oversold, then the moving averages crossed, but then we dipped down. Now, to be fair, and I hate it, you got a black swan that happened. Does that make things different, right? Because the one thing we noticed that happened with Bitcoin is, let's just get it nice and pretty. No, I don't like that. Do it like that. Come on. No, this isn't going to work, is it? What scale do I pick? I pick a different scale. I know I do. Will it not let? Okay. Knee pain? No, don't want that. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Same scale percent. Okay, can I do this? No. All right. I know which one to pick, and we're going to roll with it. All right. That's the one we're going to pick. For the first time, as you could see, how the Dow has behaved, which is in orange, that even our Luna collapse and then our contagion event were tied and correlated to the stock market. So we add all these narratives, we say this is what was going on, but at the same time, there just so happened to be massive events that were taking place in the legacy bigger markets at the exact same time. Like the exact same identical events were happening in legacy markets at every phase. No, Bitcoin's not tied to the stock market. Good luck with that, guy. Yeah, it is. And we can see that your Luna collapse, which was right here, your Celsius and 3 hours capital collapse, right there, same time as the stock market. Look at the peak that's set back over here, back in August, right here with the Dow Jones, falls recoveries. For the first time in all of 2022, there happens to be this deviation that has occurred right here, where Bitcoin breaks down, stock market continues up. That's hard. That's a hard thing to sit there and analyze and say, gosh, do we overlook it? Do we over technical analysis this event? Or does Bitcoin catch back up? Is it a one-off event that eventually catches back up? We know that behavior is not consistent with how it's been all year. It has been stupidly tied to the stock market, which it always has, as we just showed in 2013, 17, and 21. It breaks out with the Dow Jones. And even here, tied to the Dow Jones. Is this event a one-off event? And there's still the chance of that, right? So that's one of the hard parts about Bitcoin right here, right now. And we got to give it a little bit of time. If we just go based on TA, you say everything broke. Everything broke for Bitcoin. Every technical indicator of what has happened at previous bottoms broke. Is this a one-off event that's going to recover? And my thoughts are that this is likely not. It's likely not one of these guys. That this is like what we just showed with EOS. This is like an ending thing for a little while for Bitcoin. So, which I find interesting, because I get it. There's a lot of people who come in here in 2020, 2021, 2022. They put on their laser eyes on their Twitter profiles, and they're just like super into Bitcoin. But then there's the people who have been around, for 5 years plus. Nothing changed with Bitcoin. It's still slow. It's still clunky. It's still just got these narratives attached to it, but no one's really using it. If this technology is going to grow and do something, let's see it happen, man. Like, let's get some regulations and let's let this market decide it and not let, whatever. So, I don't know. But that's not bullish. It's not bullish. I mean, let me clarify that. That doesn't mean you can't do like this, like we just showed. It just means that this is not your setup for a new bull. And this is coming from a guy who has all the videos to prove it. This is where I thought we were going in 2020 into 2021, and making my videos in 2019 and 2020 saying, this is where we're going. This is where people are posting comments on my videos. And I get it. Every reply guy thinks they're clever and they've got something new to say that makes them unique and clever. You're not. Everything you've said has been said to me 100 times previously. And in this time, like legit, if you're the guy who's buying Bitcoin at 55 to 70,000, you in a different body where the reply guy down here saying I was irresponsible for saying that we'd go to 60 to 70,000. What idiot would buy Bitcoin at $60,000 when you can buy it today for 6,000? Those are the comments I was literally receiving during those time periods. So you get harassment on one side in the extremes, and you get harassment on the other side on the extremes. But I've got all the videos and the receipts to prove it. This is where we were headed. The problem is, for spending years thinking that, right? Again, I'm part of the XRP community, right? All my videos are XRP related. So that wasn't like a great thing to say for like XRP community. They didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear Bitcoin's going to go to 60 to 70K. You don't have that here. You don't have a setup out of wishing for the magical unicorn fairy dust for a new all-time high. You just don't have it, man. And I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with legacy markets happening, or this thing just needs a whole lot more room to breathe. But I'm optimistic we'll get a bounce. I'm optimistic euphoria will return back to the markets. I just think it's gonna go to other aspects of the market. And you know what? It's one of those things that people hate. And I'm gonna say it. It's gonna piss a lot of people off. I think Ethereum's gonna do well, man. I do. I think it's going to do good. So, I like Ethereum. I like Ethereum's chart. Let me say that. I like Ethereum's chart. Let's see if I've erased all my stuff off of it. I hope I haven't. I might have, though. I have. It's all gone. Okay. Enough doom talk, dude. Thank you for letting me ramble. I'm at an hour and 13 minutes of rambling. Eden Sedek with the super chat. Thank you. You're number one. Thank you so much. And Joseph Wiley, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you guys, to you too. And let me say that too. What is going to be my holiday schedule? I need to know this. I will be off December 22nd through December 26th. So that will be a Thursday through a Monday. So my last video will be Wednesday the 21st. And then I'll return on Tuesday the 27th. In 2020, I worked all through Thanksgiving and all through Christmas. And the SEC sued Ripple. And my wife gave me, literally, like 3 XRP hats, 3 XRP t-shirts, and this is for Christmas, right? These are like my Christmas presents from my wife, dude. And XRP has just tanked 70% because the SEC has sued Ripple. And like the rest of the market's taking off, but XRP is getting wrecked at that time. And my wife, when we went to our major Christmas party, had to tell all the family members before I got there, do not bring up XRP. Do not bring up Ripple. That was a bad Christmas. Anyway, the lessons I learned in 2020 were that I don't work through the holidays. I do give those off because the next years can be exhausting. And so if I don't take those days off in specific to spend them with my family and completely check out of blockchain backer, it's hard for me to check back in the next year. So 4 days off, not very much. But it's enough for me to reset my brain with my family and then come back crushing it into the new year. And you know what, dude? 2022 was a garbage can trash show. 2023 has got to be better, right? Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it, dude. Goodbye, 2022, you piece of garbage. Hello, 2023. So, Merry Christmas, Joseph. Thank you. Vincent R. Super Chat. Thank you for all you do and share BCV. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Vincent. Let's see. I got a super chat. I can't read that name. I'm sorry. KN6EPKOPA. Hey, BCB, longtime sub and a fellow YouTuber here. Can you please check the Google chart from its inception and compare it to the full Bitcoin history? The similarities are staggering. Let's do it for fun. Or are you Alphabet? Oh, yeah, you Google. There you go. I don't know. But bubbles everywhere. You want to know what the scariest bubble is of all? All right. You guys ready to put on the tinfoil hat? You guys ready for the tinfoil hat? This guy. This one right here. This is the one that keeps me up at night. Everybody's got their thing that keeps them up at night, right? Elon Musk's apparently his is what is it? AI keeps him up at night, worries him. This one keeps me up at night. This is United Healthcare Group. Right? Healthcare, insurance, all that good stuff. Look at the size of this bubble. And, we all think to ourselves, it's got to be Apple, right? Apple's dangerous too. So, scary. If there's something you don't know, I don't know if I have anything written on here, Boeing, right? So Boeing had its big bubble printed, right? Boeing can never crash. Boeing is such a great thing to own. Airplanes, yay. Crashed, but an event occurred where it should have. I think we were near a 4.236 extension or something. It was I don't really remember. There was a plane crash that happened in Ethiopia. Can't remember if it happened here, what it was. Maybe this was C19 when this started happening, right? Yeah. Plane crash in Ethiopia. Hits the 4.236 extension, short squeeze, plane crash in Ethiopia. Kills 200 or 300 people. Boom. Game over for Boeing. Apple. This is included in every ETF, everywhere in the world. Probably one of the scariest ones because we know the impacts could be cascading if it came to Apple. But United Healthcare, a little nervous about that one. That one is so high. And the reason why that one makes me nervous is if you could guess why, just think in your head, why does he care about United Healthcare? You could probably come up with conspiracies and stuff. But did you know that the Dow Jones Industrial Average, over 10% of the Dow Jones Industrial Average is made up of United Healthcare? Yeah. Why? Right? What is going to happen as a narrative for United Healthcare to get crushed and take the Dow Jones with it? I don't know. That keeps me up at night. It's a weird thought. And I don't know what to make of it. But if some narrative ever unfolds and something weird ever happens, and it has to do with something, and somehow it's going to involve United Healthcare or healthcare in general, and that's the cause, of why this thing did that, and it goes on in to do that. And if for some reason this leg has something to do with healthcare or something like that, if there's something, just go back and think about magical unicorn fairy dust, puppet masters pulling puppet strings. You're living in a simulation, God, whatever it is. 10% of the Dow Jones Industrial Average is made up United Healthcare Group. It is like one of the only bubbles that does not look like these other bubbles. They're just ugly. This is Amazon. Anyway, move on from that. People are probably like, dude, I tuned into this thing for crypto, bro. What are we talking about? But you should be able to replay this and then replay. So see, guys, so this is what we're talking about. So we were not able to get enough juice after the open. We're still kind of pulling back from there. So this will be kind of the watch, and then tomorrow's Fed meeting will give us a little bit more detail on that. There we go. I don't know, man. I didn't see it there on Google. I couldn't really see the difference, the similarities there. Pat, super chat. Thank you, Pat. Kyle, have you seen Bitcoin versus M1 money supply chart? Suggests we never had a bull run this cycle. Kind of interesting. I think it's just playing with stuff. We definitely had a bull run. It went from $3,000 to $70,000. It was a bull run. Thank you, though. I appreciate it, Kyle. AF11, you still believe in EOS? Hard to believe in it. And their Twitter has gone silent at this point, so hard to believe in it. DB, your continued knowledgeable analysis and insight on the market are truly appreciated. Thank you. Any thoughts on BCH? Well, I mean, the chart looks like garbage. It's at the lowest levels. The only thing is, we'll see. Does it hold those levels? Is this like XRP? Is this a crash, retrace, reaccumulation? I don't know. But will regulations come and squash the cryptocurrency market? If regulations do come and squash the cryptocurrency market, I hope people have kind of thought about that, by the way. If you haven't, it's a good opportunity to kind of think about it for a minute. If the SEC comes in and dishes death blows to the cryptocurrency market, issues a death blow to Ripple, what are you going to do? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I won't tell you where to go. We've all seen it. I can buy a basket of stuff. Some stuff can go up. Some stuff can go down. That's what happened during my rotations. Some stuff crushed it. Some stuff did not. But if the SEC crushes Ripple, and you have to recognize there's a non-zero chance of that. We can all root for one way or another, but we have no idea. We can watch conspiracy YouTube videos all we want to believe one thing or another, but we don't know what the outcome's going to be. Where are you going to go? Are you going to go to cash? Are you going to just exit the cryptocurrency market and walk away? Or do you have a list of assets that you have like pre-planned on being like, this is where I'm going to go? I don't know the answers on which ones will be safe, but the question here from DB, any thoughts on Bitcoin Cash? Like I just talked about earlier in this video, is that I know Bitcoin Cash is a hard fork of Bitcoin because I was there for it when it happened. It has no fundraising, no, raising money to, with the expectations of profits from others. There's none of that stuff that happened with Bitcoin Cash. Is that the case with Ethereum Classic, right? Is that the case with Litecoin, right? Having kind of that list of where are people going to run to if they're going to stay in crypto, or are they just going to run to cash? And so like when I think of that, like Bitcoin Cash, I don't know what's going to happen. I've had my own thoughts on Bitcoin Cash for the last several years, thinking, hey, when regulations come, I feel safe about Bitcoin Cash. Regulations haven't come yet. And Bitcoin Cash is just kind of faded. But my best guess, without being an SEC or regulation expert, is that probably is a regulatory compliant crypto, I would assume. So, and I think it would depend a lot on regulations. If regulations came in with crushing blows, but if they don't come in with crushing blows, will it amount to anything? I don't know. But thank you, DB. Pitbull, very great answer and explanation from you, my friend. Thank you very much. Can I ask what altcoins you are now accumulating? See you next stream. So here's the mistake of making that public when I do it. You never get, all you do is feed trolls when you do that. So like what the trolls will always do is they'll say, how's your Bitcoin Cash and how is your EOS doing? They'll never say, man, dude, that was a great ride in Bitcoin, a great ride Ethereum, a great ride in Cardano, and a great ride in Ethereum Classic. They'll always point to the ones that didn't. So it's a net negative for me to say that. Maybe I will one day. I just haven't, it's every day of my life. It is still, how's Bitcoin Cash, dingus? So I know if I say anything, what will be in every single video that I get from here on out. Let's just pretend I say, because the ones I've been asked, let's just say I said HBAR, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic. What other ones have been asked about? I asked about Doge, right? Every single video I will be asked about Doge, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic. I forgot what the other one was already. Did you say Bitcoin Cash? I don't know what we said. Two of them could take off and crush it, and it'll be amazing. But for the other two, it will literally be for years. I will hear about it for years. So I don't know. I'll think about it. I said I like Ethereum, and of course, I've been getting XRP too. But that's, of course, been a hard one, XRP. There's other ones I've been getting too, but it really just feeds the trolls to say it. So I don't know. I'll think about it. He said, okay, KN60P says, on Google, look from 2005 to 2008 on the weekly. Okay, right. So this is like the argument that I've made with so like with Ethereum though, you're like there, right? This is the good stuff about it. This is kind of the stuff I'm talking about. Ethereum is looking good. This is also similar to what Ethereum did in 2016 and being back here at these all-time highs. So Ethereum's got a nicer chart than Bitcoin does, but I'm assuming this is what you're talking about, right? So this is the thing I've obviously been talking about with Ethereum for a long time. And you're pointing to that, right? We're pointing to this. And we're saying this is like Bitcoin right now, $17,000 Bitcoin. I'm guessing that's what we're saying, right? So notice that we have the crash, retrace, reaccumulation. What do we have? Double tap on top of the all-time high, breakout, backtest into the bull flags, off and away we go. Then it pulls all the way back down below the all-time high. What do you get? You get nothing more than a retrace, and then it breaks back down below what the accumulation, the crash retrace reaccumulation that eventually went off. We go back down below that level, which is also what we saw happen over here for Ethereum. So the argument being that, is there the non-zero chance, which I think there's very strong chance. That is where we are at for Bitcoin currently. This bucket it's not out of cynicism that I'm laughing there. It's just the thought process we've had for a long time here. So I hope I caught your where you're heading with that, and I agree. And so, like, to be clear, I'm bullish on Bitcoin long-term 10, 15, 20-year horizon. But 2, 3, 4-year horizon, you not only have a chart that's not pretty for Bitcoin, but if, like we showed earlier in the stream, if you're not getting these breakouts in the Dow, you are assuming something different is going to happen with Bitcoin. So it doesn't even matter what my opinion is. It doesn't even matter. You see the data. You saw it very clearly on breakouts of the great financial crisis, breakouts of this 3-year range, breakouts of the C19. All of those led to breakouts for new all-time highs for Bitcoin. Like, the timing was immaculate. It was amazing. If that condition is not coming for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, then you have to assume we're going to do something different, right? And so, yeah, that's what that is. But tomorrow's the interesting day. I do look forward to tomorrow, man. Because the thing we've had in the last 2 weeks has been that they were going to be catching up to the 2-year. Now it's going to be real interesting, because if they do go through with that 50 basis point rate hike, it is actually exceeding the 2-year at this point. So real interesting. Summit Comedy, expectations with EOS. Maybe it gets up. So, and there's another thing about EOS too. We won't go into it, but see, this is what I'm talking about. We still see these questions still will keep coming in for years. That is EOS regulatory compliant as well. They've settled with the SEC already. Problem is, they've just disappeared. Their Twitter is completely silent. Maybe catching just a pump, but outside of just there being any more development on it, I don't know. And I think it's another one of those things. If there's a regulatory hit, do people flock back? Maybe, because they've already settled. They've already cleared up all their issues. J Roxo in. Oh boy, I'm gonna get this. J-Rock owns X4991. Do you have any speculation as to why United Healthcare's charts looks way different than others? I don't follow it, so no. Any answer I give, I would just be pulling out of my backside, acting like an expert on that. I have no clue. I don't follow it. I don't know what their balance sheet looks like, what the profits look like, why people are propped by that particular assets being propped up so much. It is the biggest asset in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I think it equates to like 10. I'm going to make another number up. I know it's above 10, but I don't think it's above 11. I think it's like 10.63%. Total guess. But I think it's somewhere between 10 to 11%. And that's not a guess. I do believe that's pretty accurate. of the entire Dow Jones Industrial Average. Why in particular it is just perfectly parabolic and has not been subjected to what has happened with others, I don't know. But if this falls, it's the biggest piece of maybe it's, look, I'm going to make something up out of my backside. Maybe premiums got raised, and then it turns out not as many claims were being made. And so the profit margins got raised because everybody thought C19 was going to be this really, really, really bad thing. Premiums got raised really high. Turns out they're not having to put out as much money as they once thought they were going to have to for C19 recovery. And in the end, their profit margins are much higher. I don't know. I don't follow it. But like that logic makes sense, but I really have no clue. Courtney Smith again. Thank you. Courtney, you're a big supporter. Thank you so much. AF11 Super Chat. Would be great if you could do an updated video on exit strategies and possible scenarios. Well, just nothing's changed for me, right? It's like either I'm a long-term holder unless we get a retrace. Then on retraces, I start exiting from positions. It's just not much to say. If we had some retrace or something, I'd be talking about it, but we just haven't had one. The Reflected Digital. What new coins will be adding to your old list of assets? I'll think about it. I'll think about it. It's just it's like those things right now, right? Like it then becomes the topics of live streams in the future. EOS, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ethereum Classic get replaced with the next set. There you go. That's a good question. Maelstrom, blockchain backer. If Bitcoin is a global asset, why would it be tied to the US DAO alone? Well, I'm not sure if your question is why would it be, as if like you're making this up, blockchain backer, or if your question is why is it? Because it is tied to the DAO. That's not an argument I'm making. That is a state of fact. 100% fact. It's a non-arguable fact. And we've gone through it on this live stream. It just means it's not what it's marketed to be. You know what I mean? Global reserve currency, I think, is how it gets marketed. So, Maelstrom, understood. But why do you think it is? I think it's just how markets work. I don't know. Someone's in control. Is Bitcoin just a extraction of wealth? I don't know. The thing for me with Bitcoin is probably like a lot of people when you come into crypto, you get introduced through Bitcoin. And if you know anything about me, I've always been a big gold and silver person. I've always been like mad. Like I get it. It became very mainstream to like hate the money printer in 2020 and 2021 with how much they did that. But I've been a hater on that for a long time. And buying silver coins, gold coins, talking about that, creating YouTube videos, talking about how I hate the money printer and devaluation of the United States dollar, that they can just print whatever they want to print. And that was like my thing. And so like when you get into Bitcoin, like you think that's what it is. And then what you realize is like Bitcoin follows like charts. It's silly. And like I said, the whole track record's there. All the receipts are there from 2019 and my 2020 videos of being like, we're going to 70K. And then when we get there, retail's going to buy it. Retail's going to be euphoric and retail's going to be buying it. And they did. And what was so amazing about retail is they wanted it to go to 100K. Like they were chasing a 50% rise, like this big, huge movement of laser eyes and diamond hands, so we can all make 50% together. When it already did 2,000%. And it just didn't, it's like, it didn't make sense to me anymore. Bitcoin just stopped making sense to me in the 2021 bull run. Like it just wasn't what I thought it was. It did what I thought it would do. It went to the target I thought it would go to, that I'd talked about for years. But what would have made me feel better is if I was wrong. Like if Bitcoin went higher. Like if Bitcoin did do more than what I thought it would do, I would be like, yeah, all right, dude, go Bitcoin. There was a lot of money printing, man. For sure, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, it was the most money printing in the world, bro. Like, yeah, but it didn't. It went to the Fibonacci extension and then it turned over on itself. That's like, I talk about stuff like keeping you up at night too. Like that's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to be making videos and saying, hey, we're going to 70K when we're down here and we're in the midst of like global chaos. And then we go to it and everybody's screaming we're going to go higher, but it literally stops there and turns over. Like, am I in touch with like the simulation? Or are there really puppet masters pulling the puppet strings on us with Bitcoin? It is a weird thing to spend years saying this is where we're going, and we go to it, and then we turn over, and you watch all the narrative changes happen along the cycle. Every reason for everybody to bail out and sell the bottom, and then every reason for everybody to YOLO and buy the top. And then we have every reason for everybody to sell and bail out right here, right? It's weird. I don't know Bitcoin. Like, and you watch the people that poured into it, the people that came into it in 2020 and 2021. Did BCB 420, bro? Do I sound like a stutter? I don't, man. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I sound high today. Maybe I'm getting tired. If you don't know this about me in live streams, once I get to the 2 hour mark, I start to get kind of. I've been talking for a long time. What's that say? Hold on. Trogex, dude, you're blowing my mind, bro. All right, I'm drinking a Monster energy drink. Let's go. All right, let's do this. We'll just play this thing. Let's just wake me up. Turn it up. Start it over. All right, let's do it. Hey, here we go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's a blockchain backer. All right. Monster. All right. So, yeah, maybe I should just wrap it up. It is Tuesday, my dudes. Bow, 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 bow. All right. Let me make sure I've gotten all these things. There we go. There's a time frame on when you think XRP hit the $10 mark. That's when moon. I don't know. That's a bid to see, but sorry, I don't have answers for when. I can never do that. But I appreciate the super chat. Lorna Miller, hi, backer. Considering the dollar DXY is correcting at the moment, what price would the dollar have to reach for alt market to ignite? Thanks. Yeah, so that's the thing. So we've never seen it, at least not in the last years, in these circumstances right here, both of them. That's just the irony timing of this FTX stuff, right? So what has happened with FTX, and it has caused for the first time in the last year that Bitcoin is not correlated to the Dow Jones. It's the first time that has happened all year. Then you look back to 2017 and to 2020, both circumstances, as DXY is falling, crypto market is running. We've seen the Dow Jones running, but yet we have this whole FTX and SBF debacle happening at the same time. So that's a tough question to answer. And this is frustrating and annoying to have this happening with SBF and FTX at the same time as all these macro conditions on these charts have turned around. I don't know. We're just going to have to kind of wait for things to kind of settle. Okay, Quali. Will Bitcoin retrace before the February FOMC? That's a when question. I don't have answers for when. Sorry, but I appreciate the super chat. Grant Dalton. I just want to say thank you for everything you do, BC Backer. Been listening to you for over 3 years. Happy Christmas to you and your family. Thank you so much, Grant. I appreciate it. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Make sure I don't miss anything. There we go. Everybody liked the wake up. Hey. All right. Charles Daniel with the super chat. Thank you so much. All right. So let's talk about what happened today, and we'll kind of go through the things that we talked about, and then we'll kind of get ourselves prepared for what's going on tomorrow. So again, the mighty mustache. Love you, dude. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you. As we head into tomorrow, the big thing with the Fed is the interest rates. And so today, interest rates take a turn to the downside, which you would have expected, really, if the Fed's going to do this 50 basis point rate hike, that the 2-year would give it a little bit of room. But this is very interesting because now 10-year is definitely below where the current federal funds rate at, definitely 75. It's 75 basis points below where the market anticipates the Fed to go with a 50 basis point rate hike. And if they do this 50 basis point rate hike, it brings them above the 2-year Treasury yield. So will they do the 50 tomorrow? Will they only do 25? You know, if they only do 25, that still means they step further away from the 10, but it means they didn't exceed the 2-year. So tomorrow, all eyes are on this, and it's not just whatever they do. It's going to be their forward guidance moving after that, because the whole thing of this hiking cycle, they've been totally free to play catch up to the yields. That's over. It's not there anymore. So big day tomorrow to see what their wording is on all of that. As for the Dow, huge pop this morning, got into retracements, and yet again, not able to do it. So Dow not able to hold off of that great CPI release to show that inflation has been cooling. So on our CPI data releases today, we saw that core CPI month over month was 0.2% compared to the 0.3% expectations. Year over year, 6% versus 6.1%. And then CPI month over month, 0.1% versus expectations of 0.3%, with year over year being 7.1 versus 7.3. So on all aspects of consumer price index inflation, it was a beat. Market reacted positively to that. As we can see, those retracement levels for the Dow still behaving as they have been. And then the thing about crypto being that, come on, Bitcoin finally has reached back to the top of the range. We've discussed this many times over the last several weeks and potentially months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rolls back up to wave 4, goes on for 7. Now we're back at the top of the range. We talked about that for the last several weeks. We have finally gotten there. It was a pinpoint hit right there this morning. Now, question is, do we go in for long ranging? So we just went through a ranging period. Yesterday we talked about it seemed likely the range was going to break. We got the break. Now the question is, how long does it take for this? I have been talking about how in the videos I have not been posting things saying imminent breakout, upward trajectory. Here we go. Get ready to rock. Because this has been the structure I've been looking at, that we've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very normal. Come back to the top of the range. Pull back from the top of the range. Now, the annoying blockchain backer titles and thumbnails will be arriving soon of being like, imminent breakouts on the way, man. Because we've done the things necessary for those types of events to occur. Like, it seems potential for ABCs to occur in here, unless we actually get a breakout. But this is what your typical stuff is that happens in here. But now's the time. If it's going to break out, well, that's your level to get through. The story is the same over here for Ethereum. The complication, like we talked about, is have we already done that? Was all that ranging that happened in here already that? We'll find out soon enough, because as we've shown in these, typically we get up pretty quickly. We saw that on Bitcoin after the capitulation had already occurred. Can I get there quickly? You could do it, BCB. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to wave 4. 6 and 7. Typically your move that comes out of here, relatively quick. We have already spent quite a bit of time already doing ranging in here. So really, the big thing is, can we get a breakout above this thing? And anticipations are it could range more. But we're at the phase of imminent breakout on the way, bro. There. A lot of people thought I was like a long-haired hippie. Very surprised that I'm not. So. Otherwise, SBF will not be testifying in front of Congress today because he happened to get arrested last night. Huh? How about that? Otherwise, I think we're just waiting for the Fed tomorrow, guys. And it's we hit the resistance levels that were there for Bitcoin, and we hit the resistances there for Ethereum. Weeks talking about it to get there. I finally did it. There we go. Now on to the next phase. Ranging for the real breakout. Because this was not a breakout move, right? This was like a breakout from a range. But this took us to the top of our big range. Now we can wait for the real one. Let's get it. So, all right. I think that'll be it. I think we're good. Oh, wait, no. I missed a bunch, didn't I? I did. Testing from Mike. Thank you for the super chat. So, yeah, I get a lot of EOS questions. Guys deter me from wanting to ever talk about coins again. Why aren't we talking about Ethereum Classic or Cardano? This is not financial advice question, but for educational purposes, would it be considered a good move to rotate all or part or one's EOS? It's up to you, man. It's up to you what you're comfortable in holding. Dr. Tay, this is a when question. When moon? What would be the new car in your garage? I talked with this. The new car that I would get would likely be a Dodge, which isn't Dodge anymore, a Ram 2500. Or I've also debated the 1500. And then I've looked at Ford. Ford's not bad. I've owned a Ford before. Maybe Ford. F-150 or F-250. And then also potentially the Chevrolet Silverado 1500 or 2500. But my next one, definitely a truck with a full-size cab. I got kids. I want room for the kids. But at the same time, I'm stingy, bro. I'm very stingy. I still ride around in a 10-year-old vehicle. I had that thing paid off for a long time. And I talk about this too. I talk about this all the time. The diminishing returns on happiness. I will not go into it in too much detail. But as long as you have your minimal needs met, you're really only chasing the final 10% of happiness. The guy who owns a Toyota Corolla is significantly happier than the guy who doesn't have a vehicle at all. The guy who owns a bicycle, is significantly happier than the guy who doesn't own a bicycle or a vehicle or a mode of transportation. Merely the act of having those things increases your happiness significantly. It's just, how much more are you really chasing? If you're going from a Corolla to a Tesla, yeah, be a little bit more of a better ride, but definitely in no way a big jump in happiness from having no vehicle to having a Corolla. You can now go do stuff if you have a Corolla. So I talk about I have a 10-year-old vehicle, and it's because I'm stingy. I'm totally a Black Friday shopper. When I'm buying silver, I'm like shopping premiums to save 4 cents per ounce. But when it comes to getting a new vehicle, I know it's not going to increase my happiness by a significant amount. And with the cost of a vehicle in relation to the things that we buy in life, it just is a terrible investment for me. But, eventually this 10-year-old vehicle will crap out and I will get a truck. One day. Dr. Ty, thank you. Miguel de Grit, thank you so much for the super chat. Enough crypto talk from Felipe Van Gamerin. Enough crypto talk. What's up with your guppies? I'm going to lose the whole audience if I talk about this, dude. Lose the whole audience. I will update you all on Friday. They're doing well. There's a bajillion of them now. An absolute bajillion of them. And we went out and bought 10 more, like colorful ones to get the gene pool a little bit crazy. Because now there's so many from same family members that we don't want to them to do things with each other. So got a bunch of colorful other ones to dilute the gene pool. But I will show you on Friday. Thank you for being interested in my interests. But all right, that's going to be it, guys. I am going to sign off. I think we know what's going on. We're at resistance levels. Tomorrow's a big day. CPI, or we did CPI, Fed rate, volatile week, probably continue. On that note, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one. See you guys.